Hello everyone, it's Adedoyin Jaiyesimi here and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to do this short video. I hope it will be a short video on measurement metrics for communication success. Now, if you've been following me for a while, you know I'm always talking about the fact that it's not just important for you to create a strategy, execute a strategy. You must be able to measure that that strategy is working. You must be able to show how what it is that you are doing is contributing to organizational growth, is contributing to organizational success, and is contributing to the things that are important to what your organization or your senior leaders consider to be important. Now, the question I always get from professionals when I talk about measurement or measurement comes up is, okay, give me a tool. I need a tool. I need a platform, recommend tools. And well, tools are important because we actually do need tools to measure. The starting point is actually not the tools. The starting point really is thinking about your metrics, thinking about what it is that would help you to demonstrate success, that will help you to demonstrate the results, thinking about the outcomes. Because if you don't have that thinking, the tools, you will have the data, you will have the information, you may even be tracking the wrong things, you may even be measuring the things that don't even make a difference. So I just thought to do this video to talk about the metrics that you should be paying attention to. And I'm not going to give you one size fits all metrics. There are many metrics, there are many tools, there are many platforms. But what I want you to get out of this is the thinking. So you go into the work, your activity, your strategy with this thinking, and then you know what to be looking out for. You know the metrics that will apply, and then you can now streamline the tools that will be useful for you. So I hope that you'll find this video valuable. Okay, to start off with, measurement is a long, like I feel like I should have put a lot of zeros. It's a long game. It's not a one-off thing, and a one-off approach will not yield the desired results. It's something that you need to be thinking about month on month, year on year. There's some people that are doing campaigns and activities that if they had collated data from the last 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, it will significantly impacts their campaign. It will significantly help them to shape that campaign, to see what direction, because the thing about data, especially when you think about it across a long spectrum of time, is that it helps you to see trends. It helps you to see things that you may not have paid attention to. But if you're just doing activity after activity, campaign after campaign, event after event, you're not thinking about the data you're collating, you're not thinking about measurement, you're not thinking about how you are storing this data so that you can benchmark this time last year as an organization. Where were we in terms of numbers, in terms of audience reception, in terms of understanding? How have we grown? Are there particular things that happen within a particular season that this organization, we notice that there is a dip in engagement or a dip in profit? You have to think about it in the long term. So avoid that one size fits all approach. There is not one tool. I'm very, very serious about this. There isn't one tool that will give you all the information, all the measures, all the metrics that you need. You should have that in mind so that when you're approaching this, you're thinking about the building blocks. After you establish the building blocks and you are sure that those building blocks will lead you to your outcome, then you can now begin to say, okay, what channel, tool, or platform will help me to measure this metric? Which one will be most effective? Without doing that, you can just go and pay for Brand 24. I love Brand 24, but if you do not know what it is you're supposed to be harvesting out of Brand 24, you just waste that money, and then you become frustrated because you have created this nice report, but is it not exactly what your organization wants or needs to see? So let's look at the starting point. The starting point really is that you need to begin with the end in mind. I will share the link to a measurement evaluation and learning manual that I read. There is a scholar, a professor that has done a large body of work on communications measurement. If you don't like to read, please read. But this manual, it's chunky, but it's a good read. It would open your mind, and I will put the link to access it. AMEC website as well, I will put the link. They're always talking about measurement. They have case studies. They have different tools that would help you. But I'll put that in the description of this video. But really, essentially, you need to begin with the end in mind. And that starts with, what are the outcomes that your organization wants to see? By now, I hope that you are not just creating strategies and plans without thinking about what the overall organizational objective is. I hope that you are not creating activities and not having in mind what success looks like for your executives, for your leaders, because that really is the starting point. What does this organization want to see at the end of this strategy implementation phase? So you need to start by thinking about the desired outcome and the impact, and then work backwards. So if, for example, your organization has asked you to create a strategy because they are launching a new office, they're launching a new product, they're launching into a new market, what do they want to see? First of all, they want to see acceptance. They want to see that the people in the new market, the customers in the new market, embrace and accept this product. They want to see sales. They want to see that they not only accept it, they are actually buying, that they are actually choosing to spend their money on this product. So what that also means is that money is coming in, because they're not just going into this new market for just going there. They have spotted, because again, organizations make these decisions based on data, based on trends, based on analysis they have done. So they believe that there's a particular amount of money that can be made for this market. They have found good fit in different ways. So it is important to them that there is acceptance, that people are actually embracing the product and buying, and our money, at the end of the day, most important thing, is coming in, and then they are gaining market share. So they are probably going in with the hope of being one of the top 10 or top 5. But you need to be very, very clear. What are the outcomes? What is the impact? You start from there. What do they want to see? Okay, we are putting together this event to make this announcement. To what end? What are we trying to achieve? I always try to emphasize this. So many times professionals come to talk to me, and I'm always asking, what are you trying to achieve here? What does your organization want to get out of this? Why are they doing this reputational campaign? Or why are they doing this? Whatever it is that they're doing, this influencer engagement, what is the bigger picture? Very, very important. When you then establish what the desired outcome and impact is, you will now think about, what are the things that will be needed to create this desired impact. So if you continue with the example of, okay, this organization is launching in a new market, in a new country, right? We know, let's say, for example, they want the products to sell, they want to bring in money, they want to increase market share. What will allow me to do it? So you need to be thinking about, what is going to get the people, the customers. So let's say this product is targeted at men. What will get men into the shop to buy this product? What will get men to visit our website to get this product? So as you are thinking about it, you are now thinking, okay, you're breaking down the process. The end result of that process is men, the target audience, make an active decision either to walk in the store, either to go online and make a purchase decision. What is going to get them to that point? Then you begin to walk backwards. The step before that is now saying, how do I get them to make that decision to make a purchase, either by going in store or by going in the website? What would be compelling to them about this product? What will be interesting enough to them to make them spend this amount of money? So again, you're walking back. It's like you're putting your mind, and I'm going to show you a real life example of this. I just want to talk you through it. It's like you're going into the mind and you're breaking it down to the very granular things, right? People, you're not just going to go into that new market and then people automatically will buy. Something needs to happen. So you start from the end. Remember, begin with the end in mind, and then you begin to walk backwards, because in the breaking of the steps, then you can now begin to see, okay, this is a comms role, this is sales that needs to convert, this is marketing, this is product fit. If the product is not fit for purpose, they may get into the store, buy it, but they will have a bad experience, which will limit the ability of other people coming to buy the product, because bad reviews will go out. So you're asking questions already. You're thinking about the product fit. You're thinking about, okay, how do we measure when people come into the store? So I want to know, for example, when people go online, I want to be making sure that I'm able to track how they got there. Is it through my communication activity? Was it through a referral? What am I putting in place? So you're now thinking about measurement as you break down the granular. How will I ascertain that it was as a result of comms that people went? How will I ascertain that comms created the interest that led these men to visit our website, for example? So you break it into the granular. I hope that this is becoming very clear in your mind. Before we proceed, I really like to emphasize the difference between output, outcome, and impact so that you are very, very clear about where you are focusing your energy. And with regards to measurements, the outcome and the impact are absolutely critical. Sometimes we focus so much on the output that when we're now asked to demonstrate impact, we miss out on the outcome. And because we missed out on the outcome, we're not able to show how the work we have done has contributed to the overall results that our organization wants to see. So your output are the things that you distribute or put out. It is what you create within your comms team. So your content, the social media post, publication, videos, the event you put together, whatever it is that you create and produce, that is your output. Very, very important. Please, I'm not saying that the output is not important. Very, very important, because that is the starting point. However, don't stop there. Don't stop at, oh, we created social media post, 100 people saw it, 1 million people liked it, 50 million people engaged with it. You cannot stop there. We have to go next to the outcomes. And these are the short-term and long-term reaction, reception, and response of your target audience to your activities and output. So if I use the example of social media post, it's not enough to say 200 people liked your post on Instagram or Facebook. You know, I hope we know that it's possible for your post to go viral and it generates absolutely no lead for your organization. Your content can go viral and it does nothing for the organization in terms of improving sales, in terms of improving awareness, in terms of leading people to a decision to buy. That's why you cannot afford to stop there. What outcomes focus on is what's happened as a result of this social media post. How did it improve understanding? How did it improve preference? How did it influence your audience to take the decision aligned with your call to action, either to purchase, either to download, either to subscribe, whatever it is that your call to action is? That is what is most critical, and that is what you need to focus on in your measurement. You can get the other metrics, they are fantastic, but more important are the outcomes. What happened after you put out this post? When you put this video on YouTube, how many inquiries were generated? From those inquiries, how many of them now became either purchasing customers, subscribers, donors, whatever it is that the outcome of the organization is? And you see why you have to begin with the end in mind, because it helps you to know what to pay attention to in your measurement. And the final thing is impact. Impact are the overall result and the effect on the organization, industry, or society. And I'm going to give an example of this, but that's essentially saying, so when you put out this social media post, when it influenced a purchasing decision, how did this impact on the organization? It brought X amount of money, it improved market share in this way, it brought X amount of donors, it brought us these volunteers. This impact you are seeing here has to align with what your organization wants to see. So you cannot stop at output. Sometimes when people ask me about tools for measurement, they just want to measure output, outcome, and impact, because a lot of the things that would help you to measure outcome and measure impact, they are things like surveys, they are things like polls, there are things like one-on-one interviews. So, and that's why it's important to not have a one-size-fits-all approach for your measurement. So it is highly critical that you understand what will lead to the desired outcome and impact. Now, I must pause here to say this comes by practice. If you are just starting your journey of measurement, of connecting the dots in this way, it's not intuitive. This thing comes by practice. But now that you know, start paying attention to it. Start asking the people that are doing it well, how are you doing it? That's how I learn. Oh, I love how do you ensure that you were able to establish the correlation between what you did and profit? What did you do? How do you measure? And then you begin to learn from other people as well. That's how you grow. But you must be able to think about how can profit be achieved from this thing that we want to do? How can market share be increased? And don't come and say, oh, comms is not sales, but you can contribute to it. You can do things, because sales doesn't happen in a vacuum. There are communication activities that we do that results in sales. So you must know what it is that you're tracking, so that when you're going to the sales team, you know the figures, you know what it is that you're asking of them, and you also have put things in place that helps you to track. So if you want to track, for example, whether it was your social media post that led people to the website, there needs to be something, maybe before checkout or at whatever point near the cart, that helps people to say, oh, they came from Instagram. There needs to be something that helps you to track it. Same thing with in-store. I went to a store one day and they had this very beautiful, nice card, and they want to get my customer details. And on it said, how did you hear about us? Very, very simple. And I put their Instagram. So the person managing the Instagram account already knows they're doing something right. And so that person, I hope that they are collating all of those cards every single day and seeing the percentage of people that are coming as a result of social media and the comms things that they're doing. That's how, when you have these things in mind, you begin to make certain decisions that make your measurement easier. Imagine that kind of person now. She's been putting out the post on Instagram. People have been walking in from as a result of her Instagram post. There is no way of tracking. She didn't put any mechanism in place. Then they now tell her, oh, what the comms bring to the bottom line. How can she show that the people that came in were as a result of a social media post? There's nothing. How do you even want to measure at that when people have already made the purchase and they've gone? So this is why this thing, you have to begin with the end in mind, and you have to think about it right at the beginning of your strategy creation process. What is going to allow me to be able to show this thing? What do I need to put in place? How can behavior be changed? For those of you that work in the development sector, you want a behavior, maybe you want people to start wearing their seatbelt, stop a particular thing, stop wasting water, wash their hands. How can this be achieved? You need to break it down, and you might not have the answers. You see, there's a lot of things that we don't have answers to as comms people, but there are people around you that have the answers. There's research, and that's why research is an important part of what you do. There's research that you can do when you research, okay, the concept of behavior change. What has worked for people that have done something on adoption of wearing seatbelt? What has worked? How were they able to measure? How were they able to track? And then you import some of those best practice into the work that you're doing. How can the call to action be acted upon? So you need to ask these questions. These questions will help you to determine the metrics that you need to measure to show outcome and impact. Those two are very important, because if you stop at your output only, you will keep having to answer that question, what the comms contribute to the bottom line. Another thing that is very, very important is that you must question your assumptions. How do you know that the steps you want to take will lead to the desired impact? I keep telling the story of the hair brand someone brought to me about two or 3 years ago now, and they had created this grand PR strategy. They had done everything. They wanted to do above the line campaign, go to the malls, do all of that, but it was not impacting on sales. They were spending a lot of money. So one of the people on the team, she was trying to figure it out, and we were having a conversation, and I had just asked a simple question: where are the hairdressers in this thing? Because in their mind, we're just going to use Instagram because everybody's social selling is working, do the campaigns, do the flashy things and activations, and people are going to buy. But I said, a critical stakeholder in this value chain are the hairdressers, because for ladies, when we want to do our hair, we reach out to our hairdresser. We have a very trusting relationship with our hairdressers, and if I want to do a particular hairstyle, I'm going to ask my hairdresser what extension will work best. In fact, me personally, I don't even buy extensions. I just tell my hairdresser, this is the style I want to do, and she knows me. She knows how long I like to carry hair for. She knows how I like it to look, and she just comes. I don't even know the brand that she buys, and she comes with it, and we do it. So for some people, they prefer to buy, but they will ask their hairdresser first. Very rarely do people just buy any kind of extension. So I said, why did you forget the hairdressers in the mix of this? That is a critical person that influences the purchase decision of the people that you are targeting. So they may not be your primary audience, but they are certainly a secondary influencing audience. So that particular agency had made a very, very, very big assumption on what they thought would lead to the desired impact. Again, these are things that research will correct. Don't create a strategy, don't create an activity, a campaign or plan without actually researching. How do you know that increased awareness or change in attitude or behavior will cause the desired impact or results that you want to see? You want to influence policy. How are you sure that by going to speak to the women in the market, that is what you need for this policy change that you want to see? You have to be able to research properly so that it is easier for you to connect the dots. Because if you make faulty assumptions, you would definitely, like the hair brand, not get the results that you want to see. The next thing is the connecting point. And this is something that we haven't done so well as communications professionals, tying our metrics to our outcomes, showing the correlation between the work that we're doing and the things that the organization wants to see. So that's why somebody is reporting increase in social media following. That's why somebody is reporting increase in website visits. Those things are not bad. I don't like calling them vanity metrics because they are important. When they become vanity metrics is when you just stop there and tabernacle there. Beyond that, how did it lead to the eventual outcome and result? That's the most important thing. You must have that connecting dot. And if you remember at the beginning, I told you to begin with the end in mind. When you break it down to the granular steps and the stages, you would be able to identify metrics, and that helps you to connect. Okay, this will lead to this, and this will lead to this, and this will lead to this. That will help me to show the outcome. How will you show that comms activities contributed to the result? Is very, very, very important. So this is an example. It is from the MEL manual by Jim McNamara. This is someone that I recommend that you follow him on LinkedIn, follow his work. He talks a lot about measurement. He has done the academic scholarship work. Yeah, he has a lot of great things. But let me use the example of this framework to bring this to life. There's a lot more to this. If you want to really learn about this, I'll be teaching a full class on this in our strategic communications course at the Comms Avenue, where I would really break this down and bring out examples. But I just thought to do this condensed video so that at least people are thinking in the right direction. So you start with your inputs, and this is a measurement framework. This is also the flow of the strategy creation process, which I hope you know. And these are your inputs: your audience research, your pre-testing, your strategic planning. Pre-testing means that you have a message or you have something that you want to do, and you have two groups of people. You test which one will work best, what messaging would land better, or what language would be better received. Not every time you need to do this, but it's really important. But you see, your research, don't miss out on it. Next thing, activities. So that can vary from you need to write content, you need to edit, you're designing graphics, flyers, photography, video production, media engagement, event planning, advice, anything that you need to do. This would then lead to your output: media publicity, the website content that you actually publish, your social media posts, the publications you put out either in the newspaper or any other kind of thought leadership content, events, either your events or third-party conferences, stakeholder engagement, then your outcomes. Now, short-term outcomes are called outtakes. You will see some frameworks where outcomes are just lumped into one. But if you see a framework where it specifies outtakes first, just know that outtakes are the short-term outcomes that come as a result of what it is that you have put out, which is your output. So short-term is website visit. So you've put content in your website visit views. So you can see, I'm not saying that these things are not important, because they are important. They are part of the funnel, but you see, they're not the only things. There are two more things, right? You're looking at like, share, reshare, online engagement. You're looking at click-throughs. You're looking at positive online comments. Then you're now going to the medium and the long-term outcomes. Increased awareness, whether inquiries and requests. You have to be tracking inquiries. Are people asking about the product? Are people asking about the service? Are there requests to purchase, depending on whatever it is? Stakeholder satisfaction with communication. Do they express that they understand? Do they express that their understanding has increased? How has this impacted on reputation? How has this built trust? All of these things can be measured, but they are measured using different kind of things. And one tool cannot do all of these things for you. And the next thing is impact. So increase sustainable food production, for example. economic development, reduce poverty, positive foreign relations, geopolitical security. So this example, this is something for an organization that works in development. If you're a corporate organization, you're looking at profits, you're looking at reduced costs. So for organizations, they're either trying to make more money or reduce costs, reduce their spending. Productivity of employees will be an impact. So you can see how thinking about this thing helps you to break it down. And then here it says metrics and or indicators. You need your baseline levels of impression, sentiment, awareness. And I'll talk a bit about baseline. You can't measure something that you don't have a baseline or benchmark for. How are you going to establish an increase in something? How are you going to establish that, oh, because of this, there was a percentage increase in revenue? If you do not know the current level of revenue, if you do not know, for example, maybe all the things they've done before with a particular activity, with a particular product, the engagement with the audience has been 20%, but then you come up with this great idea and then all of a sudden engagement is at 80%. How are you going to show that 60% growth if you don't know what the starting figure is? So you really need to think about what your baseline figures are, and you do it at the beginning. Under activities, you have your activity report. So this is just for your internal team. What are we doing? What are we putting together? Your output, that's when you begin to measure your impressions. You're measuring media content sentiment. Now tools, there are tools that can help you to measure this. You can go to the back end of the social media analytics to see the impressions. There are tools that help you to measure sentiment, publication, circulation, event attendance. This one is going to be a manual measurement. For example, you don't need a tool for that. Under your outcomes, the outtakes, you're looking at your website statistics, you're looking at your social media statistics. For the outcomes, which are medium and long term, you're looking at survey data, you're looking at interview data. NPS means net promoter scores. Net promoter means that the willingness of people, someone that has engaged with your brand, the willingness of them to recommend that brand or that service to somebody else. If you've ever seen surveys that would say, how likely are you to recommend this brand? How likely are you to tell a colleague about this? That's what they mean by net promoter. And then trust index. There are actually metrics that will help you to determine whether trust has increased or has not increased. So you see, for comms people, we need to read. There's a lot that we need to know, and I know it can be overwhelming, but we need to know these things to do our work effectively. And final for this, the impacts listed here: project report, economic data, academic study. So you can see they're not telling you, oh, go to Meltwater, go to MailChimp. They are helping you to see, so you then decide, okay, which of these tools, which of these ones that exist will help me to harvest any of this data. So here's the practical example that I spoke about, and I said before, it is from the MEL manual. Remember, working backwards. So you're starting from the impact, right? So this has to do with purchasing a product. There is a product that is being sold. Now, what is the impact? Positive contribution to the economy, business sustainability. Because if this product does not sell, if this money does not come in, the organization has no income and cannot exist, cannot be sustained. There is profit, there is sales. Now, when you are now moving backward, you're looking at intention. You're thinking of a good deal, test drive. So remember the example I gave you, what will make people go into the store to make a purchase? So test drive, giving them, I believe this is a car because test drive is cars that usually do test drive. This is what would, help them to make that decision to buy. Showroom visits. So it means that we need to be doing something. Our showroom needs to be communicating interest. They need to have interest, because if they're not interested, they're not going to buy. Information seeking. So at the point where they're looking to buy a new car, where they're thinking of, oh, I need to change my car, are we popping up? So that's where you're thinking about SEO and all of it. So you can see how working backwards really does help. Awareness of the product, brand loyalty or interest. Then you're coming back to your output. Okay, we need social media posts, media reviews, website pages, TV advertising, launch event. The activities: you need to produce social media content, write media releases, write web content, TV ad production, plan launch event, and you begin. So this is what you would do first, your market research, but you have worked backward from the overall impact that you want to see, and you have broken it down. So when you're creating your strategy, you're thinking about it holistically. the organization, this is what we want to achieve. Where's the communications opportunity here? What can strategic communications bring to the table? And then you put your strategy together. But in terms of measurement, you now need to think about what will help me demonstrate all of this impact, so that you make sure that it is covered in the tactical section of your strategy. You make sure that you have put within your strategy things that will help you to generate the outputs that will lead to this outcome and the impact. Now, here are some assumptions that are being made. Remember, I spoke about assumptions. So this team or this group putting together this comm strategy, they're assuming that this PC means potential customer. They're assuming that the potential customer will buy at this stage, right? Because if they don't buy, then all of these things would not come to life. At this stage of outcome, they are assuming that the retailer will offer a good deal, because if the person does not offer them a good deal, especially when it comes to cars, because there's so many factors that people consider when they're buying a new car, they will walk away. Now, you're also assuming that the potential customer will visit the showroom. Some of them, maybe they don't want to visit the showroom. Some of them, maybe they want to do this online. I don't know if people buy cars online only, but again, you should just know the assumptions. It really does help. You're assuming that they will seek more information, and you're assuming that they will know or like the brand. So you need to now be asking yourself, what do I need to do to make sure that they like this brand? Do they even currently know the brand? What is their level of reception to the brand? Are there challenges? Are there brand perception issues? These are things that will hinder the success of your communication strategy. At the output level, is a potential customer on social media? Because if you're saying that you're going to do social media posts and your potential customer is a high net worth individual, if this car is a premium Rolls Royce, they're not looking to buy it from Instagram, and you're focusing on Instagram, then you've made a really bad assumption. Are they reading reviews? Are they visiting car websites? Are they watching TV? So here are some indicators, which indicators can also be, so it's either key performance indicators or you call them metrics. Profit figures and sales statistics. So you need sales. Some of this data and the information that you need to measure does not sit with comms. So you need to know who it sits with, but you need to first be able to articulate what is the indicator and the metric in itself. So you want the profit figures. Where does it sit with the finance team? You have your sales statistics. In the indicators under here, your social media post, that is in your control. Your showroom visit may not be in your control. So you need something to be able to track. When people come in, how can you tell, or how can you ascertain that is as a result of your communications activity? So there needs to be something. So like the example I gave you, that little card, and it wasn't tedious to fill that card. Something on that place that, or maybe you train the people on ground in those showrooms to ask the question, oh, by the way, how do you hear about us? And make sure that they are logging people's requests so that they are collating those numbers for you, because you may not be there. Website inquiries, phone calls, brand awareness. So you can see these are all indicators. But you see, if the sales team, they're getting 100 phone calls, the sales team they will just take credit for the 100 phone calls. But you need, in that process, there needs to be a way to establish how these phone calls are coming in from, what led them to make this phone call. Is it an interaction with the content, with the communications that I've put out? Was it a recommendation? You need to be very clear. On the output side, you're looking at media analysis data. This is now when you're now thinking about some of these tools that we jump into quickly: website stats, media consumption data, production complete, on-time budgets. These ones are internal. And then your baseline awareness, knowledge, and interest. You can do a baseline survey to get some of these things. And then finally, what method will you use to establish these indicators? So business reporting here, social media analysis, website statistic, call tracking, brand survey, media content analysis, web statistic, TV ratings, audience survey. You can see all of these things. Now, the truth is that if you want to do measurement very well, especially when you are a lean comms team, a third party measurement organization or data analyst is the person you need. Now, I know, because there's a lot going on with us as comms people and the organizations. There may not be a budget for it. So the hack that I'm using now is to become friends with data analysts. And honestly, I productively pick their brains. I'm not picking their brain for free. What's that thing? You know how they used to do trade by barter? That's kind of the thing I've kind of created now, to say, look, I need to do this. Can you help me with this? And then I also support them in whatever they need. But please be very, very intentional about expanding your network to bring on board data analysts, people that are great data scientists, people that are great data analysts, because they can help you with some of these things. They can show you very easy ways to collate some of these data, because ideally, honestly, it should be outsourced, but we know how things are with the work that we do. So that's a hack that I would personally recommend. Now, Jim McNamara has graciously created this document. Again, I will put it in the description. It's a downloadable PDF document that has channels, metrics and indicators, methodology, method, and at what stage you should be measuring them. So again, work with this. I like things like this because it means that I don't have to do too much thinking. I have to think, but it's not too much. So, okay, content created, it's quantitative analysis, internal activity report. I'm looking at websites and Google Analytics. So you can begin to say, okay, what method, how would I begin to measure some of these things? So I'm not going to go through everything, but I just put screenshots there. So even events, for example, number of attendees, registration, you shouldn't do an event. There is no registration. There's no way for you to know foot count. That's not good. There's no way right within that event. So when I do events, I make sure that feedback form is filled in that event, because once people go, oh god, it's so hard to get their feedback. So I incorporate feedback as part of the agenda of the process. So I'm also learning how to make the feedback generation process fun. So as opposed to just having like a Google survey that they feel, can I use Mentimeter, for example, to ask them questions? So it's fun, it's like a quiz and they're writing, but I use that to collate the feedback that I need. Again, I've already established what it is that I want to get, what information is necessary, and I make it very fun for them, and I get what it is that I need. So you can see that it breaks down. It's after you know all of this, then you can now sit down and say, okay, what tool will be useful for me? I was doing some client work and I did some research, and I found that Brand 24 is actually very, very far reaching, and I really like the data that it gave me. But Brand 24 didn't give me all the data. There was a particular report I was doing for a client. I had to use a combination of 3 different tools, because I always look for the best one, because some tools may be great, but they may not be great for the thing that you want to do. So that's why clarity about what you need to be measuring and what you need to be looking out for is very, very important, especially before you go and pay for a tool and you realize, this tool, I cannot use it. So let me wrap up by sharing what the bigger picture is. I'm hoping that we can begin to move from being seen as a cost center to becoming a value-adding center. And we can only become a value-adding center when we can clearly articulate and say, hey guys, this is what communications is bringing to the bottom line. We can show data, we can show the results, and it's possible. We're doing the work. It's just that we are leaving these numbers on the table. We're leaving money on the table, things that are attributable to the hard work and sweat that we're doing. We're leaving it on the table. So I want you to become more intentional about paying attention to these things. Determine what will lead to the results that you want to see. And please, please, please get your baseline figures. Measure the metrics that matter. Remember, your social media engagement posts, website traffic, they are important, but don't stop there. You need to go beyond that. Make measurement, evaluation, and learning a key part of the operational process in your team. And I need to say this at this point, is that when you do this process, when you measure, you evaluate, it's not a one-time or one-off thing. It's a process. As you are implementing, you are evaluating. Is this working? Where are the numbers? What is changing? When you now finish, you're supposed to collate all of those things as lessons learned, because that is what you are going to use for your next, whether it's your communication strategy for 2026 or whenever you have a new product, because you already have data. And I also want to encourage you to start collating data. So create an Excel sheet where you are actually writing down some essential data, numbers, information about your business that are very, very important. Again, this is where collaborating with a data analyst will be very critical, because they will be able to at least give you a template that you can work with, and month on month you're putting the numbers, you're putting the figures, and you're seeing. You see, by the time you start doing this, it's called a dashboard. By the time you start doing this, even in the most simple way, you begin to see correlations, you begin to see trends, you begin to see things, you may begin to notice that every time we give content to influencer X, our inquiries skyrocket. But when we give it to influencer Y, nothing happens. If you are not tracking, you will not know which influencer makes a difference or which influencer doesn't. You won't know which platform. Okay, when we send content to bellaniger.com, it actually gives us this ROI, or it leads to people coming to our social media pages. For us at the Coms Avenue, for example, we know membership spikes during when we're doing, like, let's say we are announcing our mentorship program. We've seen correlations because we're tracking the data. We know the periods where membership sign up peaks for us at the Coms Avenue when we're doing certain events across the year. So we can become more strategic if we want to boost membership in that period and say, okay, this is what we will do to make it easier for people to become members after we've made this announcement or after we've announced this activity. But you need to begin to know. So I hope that this has opened your mind. I hope that I know you will have questions. It may feel overwhelming. Remember, this is a journey, but at least you can begin to take the steps today that will lead you to where you need to be. If you have any questions about the content that I have shared, please feel free to either drop it as a comment here on YouTube, or you can send me an email, adedoyin@thecomsavenue.com. And if you want to learn more about developing strategic communications plans, about measuring, about doing this thing the right and proper way, feel free to sign up for our strategic communications course at the Coms Avenue, which starts on the 22nd of February. Thank you for watching. Bye.